Hi there guys, welcome back to Boxspread, thank you for tuning in. Leo Santa Cruz is taking on Frampton next weekend on the 30th of July. The fight is happening at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York, and it's for Santa Cruz's WBA Super World Featherweight title. So let's get straight into it and take a look at Leo Santa Cruz. Leo Santa Cruz has a typically Mexican fighting style, I would say. He reminds me a bit of Antonio Margarito. He's quite aggressive, tall, rangy fighter. Definitely has the height and reach advantage in this fight. Likes to come forward, likes to break you down, likes to wear you down, works on attrition, but he does have power as well. Has a decent range of shots. He can throw good straight shots as well as hooks. And there are more facets to Santa Cruz's game than may be instantly recognizable. So let's talk about that. Something Santa Cruz is good at is counterpunching at close quarters. And what he likes to do is he likes to sometimes take a backward step. He likes to go on the back foot, and he likes to invite initiation from his opponent. And if his opponent obliges, then he looks to time them with a counter. What he does is he's very good at timing them as his opponent throws. He will throw just at the right time that he can catch them before their punch lands. And then if he catches you, he can be relentless. He turns up the volume, he keeps the punches flowing, he tries to push you back, and he makes you pay for any mistakes. And that is one facet of his game. Now, if his opponent fails to oblige and doesn't initiate contact and just holds position or even moves back a bit, then Santa Cruz is partial to becoming the hunter. He uses his footwork, which matches his style. It's not particularly quick footwork. He's not the most fleet-footed fighter, but it's a steady method that he uses, and he will kind of have a rocking motion as his feet move forward one step at a time, and he likes to close his opponent down, and then he initiates contact. It's at this phase where I believe Santa Cruz may be vulnerable. He has the tendency to be rather crude at times. He's not the most technically gifted fighter with his punches. He does throw quite a wide range, as I've said, but they tend not to be very calculated. And it's more of a warlike method than a calculated method, might I say. He can often be seen to fight square. So he'll be square on, which, as many of you will know, increases the target area, rather than being side on, which narrows the target area. And that's another perhaps weakness, you could say, of his. But he's not the first guy to do that and have success. So they're my points about Leo Santa Cruz, and this is the point where I move on to Frampton. Now, Frampton is the more technically gifted fighter in this fight. He has a better execution on his punches, in my opinion, than Leo Santa Cruz. His punches are more calculated. He's more of a thinking fighter than Leo Santa Cruz. Whereas Santa Cruz might just throw a combination of punches purely looking to hurt his opponent in any way possible, Frampton gives me the impression that he throws punches based on a reaction to his opponent's movements. And therefore, when he lands, it's quite often with a more clean outcome. Having said that, recently, and particularly in the Scott Quigg fight, and this is probably due to the ability of his opponent as well as much as his own shortcomings, I felt that Frampton has neglected the clean work that he has shown in the past. and he's become a little bit ragged at times, and he's been getting caught in recent fights. He needs to go back to the basics of what he is extremely good at, and that is timing his opponents. I believe that both of these guys have the ability to time each other, but I believe that Frampton is on a level above Santa Cruz, and I think that, as I've said, his punches are more calculated and therefore are executed more crisply and cleanly. He's the quicker fighter in all areas, I believe. I think his foot speed is quicker, his hand speed is quicker. He's a sharper fighter than Santa Cruz. That's just my opinion. So as you can see, what's developing from my thoughts here is that if it comes down to purely boxing, in terms of technique, then I feel that Carl Frampton should take this one. But it doesn't work like that, as we know. The problem Carl Frampton has in this fight, the first problem I'll mention, and there's another problem which came to light for me during the Scott Quigg fight last time out. The first problem is that Carl Frampton loves to initiate contact. Now, from what I've said about Leo Santa Cruz, you don't really want to be initiating contact with this guy. What I would be telling Frampton if I was his trainer is that I don't want you initiating all that much in this fight. I want you to invite Santa Cruz on, because I believe that it's going to be a battle of who gets the other guy to initiate, and therefore enables the opposition to counter, to execute counter punches crisply, and to be able to work his opponent out. The best way to work an opponent out is to actually get them to take the initiation, so you can see how they're throwing their punches, what their plan is, how they're fighting in this particular instance, and you can tailor your counters based on that. And particularly a guy like Carl Frampton is able to do that, and he's able to do it on the fly. He's able to do it effectively. So that's what I would be saying to both fighters, in fact, in this fight, is try and get the other guy to initiate contact so that you can counter him. And there's your key to success, in my opinion. The second problem, which I mentioned, came to light during the Scott Quigg fight for me, was the fact that as the fight went on, Scott Quigg kind of woke up, and it moved from a technical fight where Carl Frampton was clearly the better fighter, in my opinion. It moved into more of an aggressive fight where Quigg was able to impose his power on Carl Frampton and his aggressive nature on Carl Frampton. And I believe that he was hurting Frampton later in that fight. And if he had started earlier in the fight, I do believe Quigg would have had a great chance of winning that fight, purely based on his aggression and actually going for the fight. So here's my dilemma. On one hand, I'm saying Frampton should look for Santa Cruz to initiate and not initiate too much himself. On the other hand, I'm saying Santa Cruz has the range, he has the height, he has the size advantage in this fight, and he has an aggressive style where he does like to walk you down. He likes to cut off the ring, and given the chance, he likes to wear you down with a good range of punches. And later in the fight, that is a major concern for me with Frampton. That Santa Cruz could start wearing him down with his size, with his power, with the attrition, and it could signal bad times for Frampton. He could get into some trouble in this fight. However, I believe that Frampton has the skills in countering to actually negate a lot of Santa Cruz's hard work. I wouldn't be surprised if there are some knockdowns in this fight. I think that it'll be a close fight and a hard-fought fight. What I've just gone through is my analysis, really, of the fight as I see it, and I did all that, and I was thinking of it, and I was coming up with it. And I thought, rather than let you guys down, I had some time, so I thought I wanted to make sure I had everything I wanted to say about this fight. So I thought I'd take a little more of a look at something else. And I actually put the Alejandro Gonzalez fight on. which was the fight before Scott Quigg that Frampton fought. And that is something in hindsight I should have gone straight to when looking at this fight, because there are immense similarities. And if you're looking at what's going to happen in this fight, I do highly recommend you go and look at that fight between Carl Frampton and Alejandro Gonzalez. Another taller, rangier, similar in size Mexican to Leo Santa Cruz, fighting in the US. The fight took place in Texas, I believe. And early on, he had Frampton down a good couple of times. Lo and behold, this fight just unearthed exactly what I've been thinking. Frampton initiates. Frampton is timed, Frampton gets caught. He mixes it up all too willingly with a guy who is, quite frankly, a very decent fighter. And actually, looking at him, he's very much like Santa Cruz, probably more back-footed than Santa Cruz and a bit more defensive-minded than Santa Cruz, but he's actually a little bit more fluid than Santa Cruz, shall we say. His foot speed's a little bit quicker, his punch is a bit more fluid than Santa Cruz. But like I said, maybe not so aggressive. So I'm banking here, basically, and there is risk in this, have no doubt. What I'm saying here, my call for this fight holds risk, and you have to understand that, but I am banking on Carl Frampton having learned his lesson and actually taking what he learned from the Alejandro Gonzalez fight and applying it in this fight, and actually not initiating contact so often, only when appropriate. And it's not. I'm not saying he shouldn't come forward. He shouldn't initiate contact at all. There's a time and a place for everything in the ring. But I'm saying, don't go in there unless it's calculated and you know now's the right time. And banking on that, I'm actually going to pick Carl Frampton to win this fight by a decision. I think it's going to be a hard-fought decision. I actually believe there's a high chance that this fight ends in a draw. I don't want to call a draw because I'd rather take a side. I'd rather be decisive and say this is who I think is going to win the fight. But let it be known that I think a draw is a distinct possibility in this case. It's a very competitive fight, in my opinion. If Carl Frampton gets it bang on and he's at his best and at his sharpest, then I can see him stopping Santa Cruz with well-executed shots. He can hurt Santa Cruz with well-timed counters. If Carl Frampton doesn't get the game plan right and he loses his technical advantage, then he can get stopped. Make no mistake, he can get stopped by Santa Cruz. That's what makes this fight so interesting. That's what makes it exciting, that there are multiple outcomes, truly multiple outcomes to this fight. But the outcome I'm picking is Carl Frampton by decision, a hard-fought decision. He will have to. We're going to see early on how this is going to play out. He may make the same mistakes early on, and if he manages to recover, he's going to have to do the same thing he did against Gonzalez, and that's use his technique, use his ability to claw back the fight into his favour, to get the flow and the rhythm of the fight back into his zone, and to continue to score points and to take rounds. He shouldn't keep his hands low. Again, another thing I'd like to mention against Scott Quigg, I think his hands were a bit low at times. He did get caught. I'd like to see that guard up. I'd like to see it get back to basics and back to the Frampton we know that he knows is safe, and he knows let his technique shine through as the fight progresses. Don't push things, don't rush things. And timing is key. Okay, initiation and timing is key in this fight. So I'm picking Carl Frampton by decision. I hope you've enjoyed the video. I'd like to say welcome to the many new subscribers that I've received, thanks to Hatman and Wingy Boxing, good friends of mine on here. And I'd also like to say a big thank you to the guys who've been subscribed to my channel for some time now and have remained loyal. I hope you continue to enjoy my videos, and please, as always, do leave your thoughts on this fight below in the comment section. Let me know what you think. and I look forward to debating it with you guys. This is Box Bread. I'm out.